Now that we know what calls and puts are, let's talk about, are there certain characteristics that you need to know about when you're buying options? There actually is. The first thing when you buy an option is time works against you, right? So if I write you a policy, I'm an insurance company, and you say, hey, I want you to insure my house for the next 3 months, I'm going to quote you a price. But if you come back to me and say, quote it for a year, well, that time value is going to be inflated. So I want you to think about that as whenever you're buying options, time is working against you, and you have to make above that time value for the trade to be profitable at expiration. We'll come back to this in a second, but let's talk about some other characteristics that we want to know when we're buying options. One of the best things to talk about when buying options is that the premium that you spend is the max that you can lose. So if you spend $200 on buying an option, that's the most that you can lose. You can sleep easy at night knowing that your floor is set. That's also why it's very popular to buy options. People like to know what their risks are from the onset. When you buy an option, your risk is limited to the premium spent. When buying options, gains are unlimited for calls and limited to a zero stock price for buying puts. Also, you have the right to buy or sell stock if the option expires in the money. So let's talk about calls for a second. When you buy calls, what are you doing? Well, it's the right to buy stock. Now, if you have the right to buy stock, why did they say that the gains are potentially unlimited? Well, imagine you buy a call on a biotech stock and some positive news comes out and the stock goes from, say, $20 per share to $100 or $200. The point is gains are unlimited because the stock could theoretically go up to infinity. Let's talk about puts for a second. Buying puts is giving you the right to sell your stock. The important thing here is that your gains aren't unlimited, but they are limited between the strike and zero. What does that mean? When you buy puts, you have the right to sell stock. So the most you could potentially make is wherever you're going to sell that stock and a zero stock price. A stock can't fall below zero. So it's important to know that when you buy puts, the max that you can make is the difference between the strike and zero, minus the premium that you spend. And lastly, you have the right to buy or sell stock if your option expires in the money. So if you're buying a call, you have the right to buy stock. If you're buying a put that expires in the money, you have the right to sell stock. I referenced time earlier in saying that that's an important component to know and to consider when you buy an option. So let's look at this grid right here. We know that time works against us by looking at the slope of the options price as time passes. So down here, this is 100 days till expiration, and that's 0 days to expiration. So the further out that we go, further away from zero, the more value, the more time value that the option has. So if you're buying options, just keep in mind that the option is decaying each day that passes. So whenever you hear often that options always expire out of the money, are worthless, there is some truth to that. And the reason is because you're buying a decaying asset. Time value always settles at zero. So it's important to know that whenever I was trading at investment banks or in a sales capacity, we love to sell options. The reason we love to sell options is because time worked in our favor. Remember, we kind of started out positive on the trade from the get-go. So when you're buying options, remember you have to overcome all of that time value that's constantly decaying against you.